for loop, you have to put three things in mind, right? What are those three things? Before you can write a for loop, the syntax, initialization, the condition, the decision. So the decision can you incrementing or decrementing it. Do you remember? You understand? Do you remember? So you have So you have the initialization that initializes that set precedence for your loop rather. Then you have condition that actually talks about what exactly you want that to do. So if that condition is true, your loop will keep running. Now, loop is an English word that means continuous. No, let's check it out. So what does loop mean? So we'll see it now. So now, I can say it. So a structure, series, or process, the end of which is connected to the beginning. So it's like a process of things that keep happening. It just keeps happening, keeps happening. That's why if you're on YouTube, you've probably seen like a button called loop. Have you seen it? On loop. On YouTube rather. You've not seen a button, but you've seen it, right? If you enable loop, what will happen? If that video finishes playing, what will happen? It will start again. It will start again. Loop. Yes, on Spotify, exactly. So if that thing finish playing, what happens? It will start again. That is what loop means. So loop is like something that doesn't end. As long as something is true, it will keep happening. So as long as you want to keep watching that video, the video will keep playing. Do you understand it? Now that is basically what a loop is. Now, bringing it into JavaScript, it's the same thing about JavaScript. That's the same thing loop does. Loop is saying that, okay, I want this thing to keep happening while this condition is true. So set a particular condition. Okay, if this condition is true, and this loop will keep running. Now, if that condition now turns to false, the loop will stop. That's why when you close the video, when you close the music, what happens? The music stops. That means the loop has stopped. That is basically what a loop is. Now, in our last class on Monday, we talked about for loop, right? Today, we'll be talking about for loop. Yeah. You will ask just a minute. Now, when you ask, let me just finish it. So now you have your for loop, and then you have your while loop. Now, your for loop, I told you that your for loop, before you can use it, it takes in three things. The first is what? Initialization to start your loop. Second thing is what? Condition that determines what your loop will do and where your loop will stop. Then the third thing is your what? Your decision. Now, in while loop, it is different. In for loop, your loop is actually definite. Yes, it will keep going, but it is definite. You understand? It is definite. What am I saying? On Spotify now, you can add a particular music a number of times. So you can see you want to play that music like 10 times. What will you do? You add to queue 10 times. Now, once that music finishes playing, what will happen? Stop. But you know that this music will play for how many times? 10 times. That's a definite. Right? That's an example of definite. Now, but sometimes you just press the loop down. It just play throughout. That is what? Indefinite. You don't know the amount of times. You just want to keep playing till you are tired. That's like a repetitive task that keeps going. I hope everybody understands the scenario I'm giving. Is it clear? That is how loop operates. Now, for your for loop, it is definite in the sense that you know the amount of iterations that you want to have. And I explain what iteration and what's the name? Iteration and repetition, right? Iteration is actually what gives birth to repetition. You can say, okay, I want to repeat this thing 10 times. You iterate over it how many times? 10 times. But you can write the code once that code is now going to iterate over that 10 times, giving repetition. Do you get it now? That is basically what your for loop does. Now, your while loop is indefinite because in most sense, you don't really know the amount of times or the amount of you don't really know the amount of loops that you want to have or amount of repetition that you want to have. So you just use your while loop to iterate over the loop. Now in your while loop, you have one important thing. The first thing is your condition. Like your while loop actually has a much more simpler, what's the name? Simpler syntax than your for loop, right? So what am I saying? This example of your while loop, looking at it, you have your while, then you have your condition and the code to be executed. Do you get it now? It is actually much more simpler to understand while loop because it has a simpler word, a simpler syntax. Now, what am I saying? The while loop is a fundamental control flow statement in JavaScript that allows you to repeatedly execute a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. It is a powerful tool for automating repetitive tasks and is particularly useful when you don't know in advance how many times you need to loop. Do you get it now? So you're just saying that, okay, while this particular user clicks this thing, I want you to keep running this task. Do you get it now? Now, that task will keep running as long as the user clicks it. That's repetitive. But you do not know the amount of time this user is going to keep clicking. You get it now? That's while loop. Everybody understands what you use. But now, you know, yesterday on Monday, I was talking about loops. I said, use all loops in repeating tasks, isn't it? But each loop has its own strength. So we talked about for loop. Now, as you can see, you are seeing the difference between for and while loop, right? I hope it is clear for those that were here. Do you understand the distinctive differences now? Is it clear? All right, good. Now, unlike the for loop, the while loop structure is simpler, focusing primarily on the condition that determines whether the loop continues. The for loop, three things will be put into consideration. First is that you have to initialize the loop. Second thing is that the condition has to be there. Then the third thing is that the decision that happens in the loop has to also be there. But your while loop, all you need is your condition. Hence, it is making the loop much more simpler. Do you understand? I know I'm going over this because I want you to understand while loop and how it runs. Now, coming down here, this is what I'm saying. So the while loop executes a block of code repeatedly as long as the condition remains true. So if I say, if I say, open up this is now let's check something like this. Now we have let's count equals to 1, right? We've initialized it, but we did not initialize it in the count. We initialized it outside, meaning that it's not actually part of the word of the syntax. Now, we're not saying that if count is less than or equals to 5, always print out count. Now, is count less than 5 here? Yeah? So that means this is going to give you a what? What's it going to give you? Let us try it out. So I'm going to come here now and I'm going to open up my JavaScript. Sorry. So let us try something. Let's do the same thing that we saw there. So we're saying let count equals to what? So let's say count equals to 1, isn't it? Now, we're not going to say, we're not going to take a while loop that checks if count is less than or equals to 5. So if it is less than or equals to 5, it's going to keep printing what? True. Else what will happen? False. So we can now say what? Count is what? Less than or equals to what? 5. This is the condition, right? So while count is less than or equal to 5, what do you want? I want you to console.log the value of what? Count. Or you can also even print true. So let us check it out. So as you can see, console log value of count. Now, okay, let me put it up. Let's just give it a time for the extensions to load up.